The asylum process with U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services, known by its acronym USCIS, is anything but transparent. Asylum seekers often go into their interview not knowing what awaits them. After all, USCIS is kind of a black box. The public really doesn't know what goes on there. And the uncertainty around what you can expect on the day of your interview, a hugely consequential day for your future, causes stress, which can cause you to perform poorly, thereby hurting your chances for asylum success. And with approval rates as low as they already are, you can't afford yet another obstacle in your way. So I want you to be among the very few people who have gotten a look from the inside. I'm going to share with you in this video exactly what you can expect to happen on the day of your asylum interview. Now, this is the short version of a full-length training that I created called What Really Happens at an Asylum Interview, which I'm going to link to in the description of this video in case you want to hear about all of this in much, much more detail. I'm Brian Manning, and I used to be an asylum officer with the government, but now, as an asylum lawyer, well, I help immigrants all over the country to secure their future in America through asylum. Let me know in the comments if you've got an asylum case pending or are considering applying, and I'd especially like to hear from you if you've been waiting for an asylum interview for multiple years. All right, we're gonna walk through what happens on the day of your asylum interview, step by step. So let's go. Now, first, when you get to the asylum office, you'll go through security, and this means passing through a metal detector and answering questions about whether you have with you any weapons. Now, note that to be let in, you may have to show your interview notice. Now, that's the letter that USCIS sent you informing you of your interview date and time. So please do take a copy of that letter with you to the asylum office. Okay, next is the check-in process, where you present your identification and undergo a photo and fingerprinting process for identity verification. Now, this will be done at a little kiosk or a little booth where you may be asked again for your appointment notice letter, and they'll also ask you to present identification like your passport and your driver's license if you do in fact have those items. Also, they'll ask if you brought with you any evidence that you want the asylum officer to consider, but which you have not previously submitted. And then you'll wait. You'll sit in a waiting room, and this could be a lengthy wait in a crowded, noisy environment, so it's wise to bring something to occupy your time. Silence your phone to avoid disturbances, and consider bringing snacks and water, as these amenities probably won't be available in the waiting area. Now, you can expect a wait of at least a few minutes, but honestly, it's not at all uncommon to wait over an hour, maybe even multiple hours, for your name to be called. And when you're called for the interview, an officer or staff member will guide you to the interview office, which is a utilitarian space with just the essentials: a desk, chairs, and computer equipment. Now, the officer will sit across from you, and if you have an interpreter or lawyer with you, well, they'll be positioned either at your side or behind you. By the way, if you want to maximize your chances for asylum success, then be sure to hit the subscribe button and the bell notification so that you don't miss the insights that I share on this channel. So, once you're situated in the interview room, the asylum officer will introduce themselves, possibly engaging in some small talk to build rapport. And then they will outline the interview's structure, which includes administrative tasks, the substantive phase, and then a discussion of potential outcomes. So next, you'll take an oath to tell the truth, and you'll sign a statement making that same promise. The officer will warn you that there can be serious consequences for not telling the truth. Always do tell the truth, okay? Now, the officer will give you some ground rules for the interview and will stress that you can take a break at any time. So don't be afraid to ask for one if you need to go to the bathroom or just need to take a minute to compose yourself. And then you'll review your asylum application with the officer. Now, it's essential to ensure its accuracy, as any discrepancies can impact your case's outcome. The officer will meticulously go through pretty much every item on the form, seeking confirmation or updates. They'll update the form or make corrections on it as necessary. Now, this is a pretty tedious process. It can take an hour or more sometimes to get through the whole application. Okay, next up is the substantive phase of the asylum interview. This is where the crux of your case is discussed. You'll delve into detailed questions about your reasons for fleeing your country and your fear of returning. The officer's focus will be on past experiences of harm or persecution and the likelihood of future harm. Also, another major area of focus is the so-called nexus requirement. The officer will ask questions to try to understand the motive behind the persecution. Why are the bad guys targeting you? You see, to win asylum, you have to demonstrate not just that you have a well-founded fear of persecution, but also that this persecution is motivated, at least in significant part, by the fact that you possess one of the 5 protected grounds under US asylum law. And those are your race, religion, nationality, political opinion, and something called membership in a particular social group. The officer will also ask questions to probe whether you might be able to avoid persecution by just relocating internally within your own country. They'll also want to know if you had the right to stay permanently in any other countries that you might have passed through before getting to the United States. Moreover, you'll be asked security questions. It's basically, are you a terrorist or are you a criminal, asked in about 20 different ways. Now, credibility confrontations can be a critical component of an asylum interview. If there are inconsistencies in your statements or among your documents, then the officer will point them out and they'll give you a chance to try to explain or to clear it up. Now, if this happens, stay calm and do your best to just provide clear explanations. Now, before wrapping up the substantive part of the interview, the immigration officer will give you a chance to tell them anything that you want them to know, but which hasn't yet been covered in the interview. You see, throughout the interview, you don't really get a chance to just talk at length and explain your case as you see fit. Rather, the officer asks you a question, you answer it, and then they ask another question and you answer it, and so on and so forth. And they'll cut you off sometimes and often change topics, despite there perhaps being more that you wanted to say about the last topic. So near the end of the interview, they do have to give you a chance to just say whatever you want to say. And this is your shot to get in any information that you think is key to your case, but which hasn't yet come up. All right, this substantive phase where the officer is asking questions and you're answering them can last from 1 to several hours, but don't worry if it does take a long time. That doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to lose your case. Okay, after the substantive Q&A, the officer will discuss potential outcomes. If granted asylum, you're immediately eligible to work in the United States, and you can get permanent residency, also known as your green card, 1 year after having won asylum. And if the officer determines that you're not eligible for asylum, then the process of what happens next varies based on your immigration status at the time that this negative decision is made. Before wrapping up, the officer will inform you of how you'll receive your decision, either in person or by mail. If the former, in person, well, they'll tell you the exact date and time you should return to the asylum office to pick up your decision. It's usually 2 weeks after the interview. As the interview concludes, ensure that you have all of your belongings and necessary documents. And if the person you did the check-in with or the asylum officer, if they took your identity documents, then they should give them back to you before you leave. Finally, the officer will walk you out of their office and out to the waiting room from which you can exit the asylum office. The asylum interview is a rigorous process. You might be at the asylum office all day and you can expect some very difficult questions about sensitive topics, including traumatic experiences that you've endured. In short, it's hard, but you can greatly increase your chances for success if you know what you're getting into, you explain your case well on paper ahead of time, and you prepare adequately for the interview. And today, we took care of that first part, right? Informing you about what to expect at your interview. If you want help with the rest of it so that you can give yourself the best possible chance to win asylum, then please call my office today. Now that number is 713-909-0401. And remember, we help people all over the country, so it doesn't matter where you live. Call us now to schedule an asylum strategy session so that we can help you secure your future in America through asylum. Again, I'm Brian Manning, and it's an honor to support you in your asylum journey.